Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's video is the first part of a three-part series where we create a complete photography portfolio website design in Figma. In part 1, we'll create the mood board, wireframe, desktop web pages for the home, about, portfolio, services and contact page. Link for the text, typography, colors and images used in this project will be in the description below. To begin your project, you of course need inspiration. So you can just go ahead and go to any website or service that you typically get inspiration from, even past projects. So maybe there's Dribble, you can use even just search on Google, there's Behance. But I personally like to use Pinterest, and that's where I tend to get my inspiration from. But in general, when I'm existing in the real world, even if I'm browsing a website, I'll just take screenshots of elements I see. So I'll just encourage you to, maybe on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you are, if you see something that you find interesting, just take a note of them or take screenshots and just save them for your next project. But for this project, I'm going to use Pinterest. So I'm just going to go to my website. I already have Pinterest. So the search term I'm going to use, since it's a photography website, we're going to build photography portfolio websites. That's what I want to go for. That's exactly what I'm going to search for. All right, I really like this image. So what I'm going to do is open link in new tab. Same with this one. I really like this one. I like this one. This essentially has very similar to this one, but instead it's a light version of this. So but I want to use this dark, really dark layout, something like this. And oh, I really like this one. And essentially that's what I'm just going to do throughout this project. I'm just going to search for images, and every time I see something I like, I'm opening it in a new tab so I can have a moment to look at it. When I'm done in this, okay, I really like this one as well. So I'm just going to open those. Now we'll just take a moment to look at these images that I've opened. So we have this one. Once again, like I said, I really like this dark black, and there's black, there's grays, but I want to go for a purely black and white design. So I'm going to just save this. So I'm going to do save image as, and I'll just download it and save it. And sometimes one good thing about Pinterest is that when you've opened an image, you can now go ahead and just like take a look, scroll down, take a similar images. So there's a similar image to this one, but I'm not going to download it. The layout I'm going for, it's very simple. So I'm not really going to search for this one. Looks good, but again, I'm not going to get too bogged down by the details because I already have something in my mind. Kind of, I really like this one, so I can just go ahead, save this image, and that's what I'll go and do for all the images I open in a new tab. So I'm going to save those images and I'll import it into Figma. So I've gone ahead and imported all the images I downloaded. We don't have much. Like I said, I want to go for a very simple design, just something like this, black and white, and we're just going to have a simple design flow. I mean, when I say black and white, I don't mean we're not going to have black and white images. The images are going to have all their full colors. But yeah, I'm just going for something simple, and we're going to have a black background with white text basically, and that's it. Mood boards tend to be very straightforward, but depending on how complex your project is, you may have more or less, but in this case I have less. So let's now move on to start creating our wireframe. Let's start with a placeholder for our images. So I'm just going to create a frame, no specific dimensions, just have something like this. Let's change the fill of this frame to something gray. Let's say like this. If you want to use exactly the same color, it really doesn't matter, but this is the color I'm going for. Next, I'm going to select this frame and we're going to run a plugin and insert an icon. So I'm going to use Iconify. The icon we are going for is image. I'm just going to search for that. Let's pick the first one. I'm just going to go ahead and just drag in an instance of that icon into our frame. Let me zoom in change the dimension of your icon to 70 by 70, and let's change the fill color to something a bit lighter. Let's say like this. So if you want to use exactly the same color, it really doesn't matter. This is just a placeholder for our images in our wireframe, because we're going to be building our wireframe in Figma. So I'm going to close this. Now for this image, let's go to the alignment. We're going to make the constraints. We're going to make this one center and this one center also, and I can just change the alignment to middle and then center. So now every time we move our frame, that image icon always stay in the middle like that. So we're going to name this image placeholder. Now let's make this a component, and now we'll be able to use it in our frame. To start creating our wireframe, let's insert a frame. Go to frame and insert a desktop frame, which is 144 by 1024, and I'm going to bring this down. The fill color, just make it something much darker. If you want to use exactly the same color, it really doesn't matter. This is the color I'm using. I'm just going to close that. Let me increase this a bit. Let's add a layout guide. I'm going to come over here, click on layout guide, change the kind of guide to columns, make the count of columns 12 and the margin 180. Close this. Let's come here. I'm just going to zoom in here. Let's insert the text. So I'm just going to click on text, and I'm going to type the name of our photographer, which is Alex Carter. The size of the font I'm using is 16. The font really doesn't matter, but if you really want to use the same one, is Inter. You can use any font you want as long as it's clear. I'm just going to select this, use Alt and Shift to create a copy. Let's see, right around here. Let's create more copies. We have 5 pages, so I'm just going to create 5 pages. So the first one is home, second one is about, third is portfolio, next is services, finally we have contact. I'm just going to move this here and select all of this. Let me just align it, and I'm going to group them. Once again, don't worry too much about the spacing. This is just a wireframe. Let's insert some lorem text. So I'm just going to right click on this frame, go to plugins, and I'm going to run lorem ipsum live. I'm just going to go to text, click on text, and I'm just going to draw a text box here, and we'll just need 5 words. So 5 words, and we'll generate, and that's going to close. I'm going to increase this. Now let's change the size of this text. Let's make it 57. I'm just going to change the resizing so that it will match. Then I'll just move this, let's say around here. Let's create another copy, hold Alt, and then create another copy. This time the bottom text is going to be on the right side. Let's grab a copy of this image placeholder, and I'm going to have this here, bring this to the edge, extend this all the way to this side, and I'm going to move this text out like this. I'm going for something like this. I want my hero section to have this sort of image there. Next, let's just insert some placeholder buttons. So I'm just going to use text. We'll write view portfolio, change the size to 16. I'm going to make it an auto layout and just leave the padding like this. Looks fine. I'm going to create another copy using Alt and Shift, or just Alt. I'm going to add a fill to this color. So what I'm trying to do with this is, while I'm not trying too much to design, I'm also leaving a lot of detail that when I come in to basically fill in the blanks and create my actual web pages, there's enough detail in my wireframe that I know what I need to do. If you do well with loose wireframes where there isn't that much detail and you're fine with it, then you don't need to go into this much detail. But for me, I find it much easier adding a lot of detail, since I'm going to even be using this wireframe into my wireframes. It's just going to mean less time designing or less time thinking about the design when I'm actually creating the desktop web pages. So I'm just going to add a fill, change the text to black. This I'm just going to change this to get in touch, and I'm going to add a stroke around it, change the color of the stroke to white. And now I know I have two call to action buttons here. I'm just going to place this here, and that's it. We're done with the hero section. Let's move on to the about section. So I'm just going to copy this text and just give it a bit of space. This is going to be about. Let's zoom in. I'm going to just create a copy of this using Alt, change the size of this text to 16, and let's generate some text. I'm just going to right click, and we're going to use lorem ipsum again to generate some text. I'm going to select this text, and we're going to use 4 sentences and generate. Let me zoom out. Let me reduce the size of this text, and I'm just going to have it, let's say here. Let me take this up. Let's create a copy of this text box, and we're just going to change this to read more, and I'm going to change the resizing of this text. Let's grab a copy of this image. I'm using Alt and drag. Let's create another copy of this image, and I'll just resize it. Yeah, that's it for the about section. The next section is the explore my work. I'm just going to use Alt and Shift to create a copy, and I'm just going to change this to explore my work. Let me also grab a copy of this image. I'm going to use Alt to create a copy, and I'm just going to reduce the size like this till it covers about a third of our frame. And I want to go for a sort of checker, well, let's say checker pattern. So use Alt, create a copy, and bring one here, and I'm going to create another copy and bring one here. So you see that I didn't fit, no problem. I'm going to select this, bring a copy of this here. Let me reduce it. I'm going to change the alignment of the text to center. Maybe I should maybe something like this, so to look a bit more balanced. Alt, create a copy, bring one here, bring another copy here, and we're done with this section. Let's go to the next section. I'm just going to once again create a copy of this, Alt and Shifts, just drag this, what clients say, I'm going to zoom out. Let me grab a copy of this image. I'm going to use Alt, create a copy of this image, and I'm going to drag it to the end of our frame, to the edges of our frame, and I'm going to have this. Let me insert a rectangle around here, change the fill to something really dark, similar to what we have in the background, and I'm just going to bring a copy of this, bring it here. I'm going to bring it to the front using my right square bracket and select both of them, create a copy and create another copy. I'm just going to select all 6 and move it so that the top of one of the boxes is touching the top and one is touching the bottom of this image. Let me zoom out and increase the length of my frame. Let's now do the next section. So I'm going to just create another copy of this text. Just going to paste in some text. Let's create something beautiful together. It's a sort of call to action segment. I'm going to select this text, create another copy, bring it here, change the alignment of the text to left, and let's have a call to action button here also. I'm going to use Alt and Shift to create a new copy, and this will be book a session. Let me just change the element of the text, and I'm just going to grab a copy of this image and reduce it. Let me reduce the height and as well as the length. Let's go to the next section, which is a sort of highlight for our photographer's Instagram page. So I'm going to create another copy of this text, and this will be follow my journey. Let me reduce this. Now once again select this image, create a copy. I'm going to bring one here, and let's sort of make some perfect squares. No worries if they are not actual perfect squares. We just want them to be how will I say, square enough. I'm going to create another copy. Let's see here, select both of them, create 2 more copies and another 2, then just move this one here. I'm going to move this text so it will be aligned with the center row of images. Let me create another copy and just of this text, and I'm going to change the size to 16, and I'll just make this follow me. Yeah, let's take a moment to just look at it. I hope I'm not moving too fast. Like I said, don't sweat the details so much, just kind of place things around where I'm placing them. When we're creating the actual web pages, then we'll now start thinking about spacing and alignment. Yeah, that's it. Let me increase the height of my frame to give myself more room to work with. The final section is just the footer. It's going to be very simple layout. I'm just going to select this, follow me, create a copy, and we're just going to once again type the name of our photographer, which is Alex Carter, and I'm going to create 4 copies of this. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is going to be home. We're just creating some quick links. We're going to make this about portfolio. Finally, we have contact. Well, let's just use services. Why not? Once again, really doesn't matter. We'll figure out all of this when we are working on the web pages. So I'm just going to move this here. I'm going to create, let me say, one more copy here. Select all of this, align, let's say make it 30. Oh, that feels too close. Okay, I'm just going to group all of those, have it here. So this is going to be a placeholder for location. This one is going to be for the email address, and the final one is going to be for phone number. I'm going to just align them here, and I'm going to group them. Finally, I want to have some icons for social media websites. So I'm just going to go ahead and run Iconify. So I'm going to go to plugins and run Iconify. We're just going to use, okay, I already searched for this. Let's use Pinterest. Just use any icon. Maybe you use Instagram or Facebook. I'm just going to use Pinterest. I'm going to change the size to 24. Change the color to white. Let's duplicate this 4 times. Select all of them and group. Let's just select all this 3, align them to the center. Spacing really doesn't matter, just group it. Let's align it to the center. Okay, and I'm going to just reduce this. So this is a desktop wireframe, not too detailed. Everything is imperfect, but it has enough detail that when we're designing, we kind of know where everything goes. We know, oh, the Explorer work has this design, what the client says has this design, this has this layout. So there's enough detail in the layout, but I did this very quickly. Now, if it was too fast for you, maybe you could just maybe rewatch it. But like I said, don't worry too much if it's not perfect. You shouldn't worry too much. It's going to be fine. So let's move on to the next page. I'm just going to scroll up here. Maybe let's rename this homepage wireframe. Let's create our second frame, and I'm just once again going to create a desktop. Select this wireframe, Control, Alt, and C, and we have copied the properties of that frame. Now we can Control, Alt, V, and we'll paste it on this one. This is going to be the about me wireframe. And I'm just going to increase the height. Let's come over here and just copy this, select this frame and paste it. And now we have the header section here. I'm going to select this, copy this text and just bring it around here and change this to about me. I'm going to create a copy of this text again, and we're just going to have this short introduction. Let me make this 2 lines. I'm going to come here, create a copy of this text, bring it into this frame. Maybe we could just, I'm going to copy the entire text. I want to make it a bit longer. And I'm going to paste it again instead of generating more text. I'm going to, let me select this, create a copy and bring it here. This time I want it to be on the edge like this. And I'm going to increase the width and the height and just align it a bit. Let's create the next section. I'm just going to create a copy of this, and let's reduce the height and the width a bit. I'm going to create a copy of the text here. Let me scroll down. Let me create a copy of this text also. I'm using Alt and then dragging. Let me change the text. So let's connect. Oops. In case you're wondering why I'm doing it like this, before I even started the project, I already kind of know the layout and the content I'm going to have. So having in your mind what you want in your home page, your about section, and so on and so forth, you won't just be blindly trying to randomly design. So having a general layout of what you want your content, it may not be perfect, but having a general idea of what the content is going to entail, you're going to be able to design appropriately. So I'm going to just create a copy of this text, and this time let me increase the width like this. Final detail in this one is going to be the footer section. So because I'm going to provide the text that we're going to use in this project, I'm also going to provide the general layout. So you see the layouts for the home page, the about page, the location, services, and contacts page. No, we don't have a locations page. It's home, about, portfolio, services, and contacts. I'm going to show you the general layouts when we get to the text portion of our project. And yeah, we're done with the about me. Let's now go on to the portfolio page. I'm going to select frame desktop. Let's align it, and this is going to be portfolio wireframe. Select this frame, Ctrl Alt and C to copy properties, Ctrl Alt and V to paste properties. Select this header, copy it, go to your wireframe, the portfolio wireframe, and paste. I'm going to copy this heading and bring it here so we can reuse it for our frame. I'm just going to zoom in. This is going to be portfolio, and I'm just going to create a copy of this text and bring it here. Let me extend this text. Maybe we're just going to reduce it so we just have 2 lines. Let me create a copy, select this, make these categories. I'm going to create another copy of this text. Let's make it a bit smaller. This is currently 57. Let's go with 48. This is going to be landscape photography. I'm going to create a copy of this image, and I'm just going to kind of use this image placeholder to create a layout for the images I'm going to use. So I'll create this like this, create another copy, reduce it till it's just on 4 columns. Let me make it slightly smaller, create one more copy, another copy, pick this one a bit longer, create a copy of this one, and let's extend this one like this. I'm just going to reduce the height of this one side to match this, and this is just the layout we're going to use for the landscape photography section. So let's now build for the other sections. I'm just going to select this and I'm going to create a copy. I'm not even going to check the next section what it is. I'll just create 3 different layouts to just kind of have something there so it won't be empty. I'll just, let's see, reduce this, select these 2, bring them up here, just align them. Let me move this up, reduce it till it's on 6 columns. So I want to have 2 images here. Create a copy, let's have 3 images at the bottom. Let's say one like this. Let's make this one slightly, let's make it, reduce the length, and I'll just add one more here. And this is kind of a rough layout of what I'm going for. Let's just duplicate the heading again, and let me select this, create a copy. I'm going to zoom in. Let's bring in another copy here. Let's have another one on about 6 columns. Let's bring another one here. Finally, I'm going to create another copy and just have one really large image here. Yeah, and I have a rough layout of the 3 categories I have. When we're building the web pages, we may change it, we may add other layouts, but basically that's it. Let me just add this final content, which is, let's create something beautiful together, a sort of call to action. And I'm going to come over here, grab a copy of this, I'm going to bring it here. Let's create another copy, and I'll just add a follow me text. This is going to be a link to, once again, the Instagram page for our photographer. Final detail is the footer. I'm just going to come to any of the pages, copy it, and then paste, and I'm just going to place it in the middle, and that's it. We're done. Let me just give you a moment to see the three layouts. We may change it, probably will leave it like this, but that's just it for the portfolio page. Next page is going to be the services page. I'm just going to create a new frame, which is desktop. I'm going to change this to services wireframe. Select this wireframe, Ctrl Alt C to copy the properties, and Ctrl Alt V to paste the properties. Let's extend this a bit. Select this header section, copy it, and paste it in this one. let's grab this to text, create a copy of it, and bring it into our services wireframe. Now let's just change this text to services. I'm going to select this to create a copy, and this is going to be portrait photography. Let me create a call to action button. Let me reduce the spacing, the resizing, and let me just move it up here. Okay, I'm just going to create some placeholders for portraits. Since it's portraits, we're just going to have this orientation, and I'm going to just create 2 more copies rather, and just have that here. Let's go to the next section, select this tree, let's create a copy here. I'm going to make this commercial and branding photography. Let me create a copy of this image, bring it down here. Let's have this one on 6 columns. I'll just reduce the height. Let's create another copy. Let's bring one down here. Let's say 4. This one is going to be 3, and this one is going to occupy the rest. Let's go back to this. Let's copy this tree. This section is going to be for, I'll just copy this, and it will be event photography. I'm going to create a copy of this, increase the height, and we're going to increase the width so to cover 6 columns. Let's create another copy. I'm going to, oh, that's not what I was going for. It's supposed to be 6, and they're actually kind of large. Let me just reduce their heights. And I'm going to have 3 images here. This tree kind of don't work. We'll make it work somehow. Okay, something like this. Once again, don't sweat the details. I'm going to copy this 3, and the reason why I'm designing these ones individually to lay out the images is different sections will have different layouts. That's why I'm kind of planning it out even before I bring in my images. And okay, this is going to be fine art and print sales. Let's just grab one of these images. I'm going to create a copy, have this on 4 columns. This one, create a copy of this, and I'm just going to increase the height. Let's create another copy of this. Let me reduce the height of this one. Let's create a copy of this title and this body text. Bring one here. This one is going to be what clients see. And I'm just going to copy this text 2 more times. 1 and 2. Select this 2, create another copy. Once again, this is going to be like a short call to action section. Let's bring your vision to life. Okay, let's have I'm just going to copy this. You can just create another one. It's just a simple call to action button. Book now. And once again, we're going to have a footer section. I'm just going to create a copy and bring one in. Okay, that's it. So let me just scroll back to the beginning. So we have our services, and then your portrait photography, commercial and branding photography, events photography, fine art and print sales. So like I said, I already have the general layout of my website. That's why I'm designing it this way. Let's now create another frame for our final page, which is the contact page. I'm just going to create a new frame. This is going to be the contact wireframe. Select this page, Ctrl Alt C to copy properties, Ctrl Alt V to paste properties. Let's select this, copy it, come back here and paste our wireframe, our header. Let's select this to again create a copy. This is going to be contacts and I'm going to insert the line, so I'm just going to grab a line, hold shifts and draw a line. Let's see. Okay, it's currently white. Let's leave it like that. I'm going to select these two texts, create another copy. This is going to be get in touch. Let's create a copy of this line. Select these two texts, create another copy. Let's just make it book a session. I'm going to create a copy of this line, select these two. This is going to be frequently asked questions. Since it's going to be multiple items, I'm just going to create a few more copies of this. Let's say 4. Select the line, create another copy of that line, select these first two texts, and for this one, let's work together. Okay, so let's grab a copy of our footer section. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it here. And that's it. I hope that wasn't too fast. Once again, I'm just trying to, let me zoom into the contact page so you can see the layout. And now we have our mood board and wireframe done. Now we can move on. If you want to create wireframes for tablet and mobile, I actually created this when I was creating the project, but I won't be creating it in this video. It's not necessary to do that, but if you want to, you can. But like I said, in this video I'm not going to create it. Maybe that will be an extra project for you. Maybe you could just try it out and create a tablet wireframe and a mobile wireframe. But yeah, we're done with the wireframe. Now we can move on to the actual web pages. So what I like to do is create the web pages separately. So I'll have the mood board and wireframe web page. I'll now have a page for all the web pages. Then I'll have one for the desktop. I'll have one for the tablet. I'll have one for the mobile, because I'm going to prototype them and then keep a separate copy without any prototypes if I just want my project blank. But it will make sense as I go forward. So I'm going to select this page 1, and I'm going to duplicate page. Go back to page 1, double click it, and rename this to mood board and wireframe. Let's go back to page 2, and I'm going to rename this all web pages. Now I'm just going to, let me just show you. I'm going to grab my style guide, which I've already created. We want to go through them one by one, then we'll save them, then we'll now start our project. Well, before that, if you want to see, this is the wireframe I created for this project. So you'll notice slight differences. It's just when you're creating a project and when you're creating a video, there's definitely going to be differences. So it's similar enough. In the original version, I wanted to do this, but I changed my mind towards the end of the project. I was like, I don't like that, and I changed the orientation. So this is the desktop version. In this version, when I created the mobile, the tablet version, I created it in the landscape view. So it looks very close to desktop without any much difference. But when we're creating this one, we'll create it in landscape in portrait view. And this is the wireframe for mobile. So if you want to create the wireframe for all of this, you can go ahead. But in this project, to keep things short, because this is going to be a long video, we're not going to do that. Let me go back to this, and I'm just going to come here and paste this. Let's take a moment to look at our style guide. All the values for this, the name of the font, the weight, size, line spacing, all of that will be in the description box below, but let's look at it one by one in the video. So I'm going to select this. The logo is going to be, the font is going to be red rose, the weight is regular, size is 16, line height is 24. Header section, it's Montserrat, and the weight is regular, size is 14, and the line height is 22, line spacing is 0%. Hero section is, font is Montserrat, the weight is regular, size is 72, line height is 80, and the line spacing is minus 0.25 px. For the body of the hero section, the font is Poppins, weight is regular, size is 24, the line height is 32, the line spacing is minus 0.25 px. For the button, we have Montserrat as a text, weight is regular, the size is 16, line height is 24, letter spacing is 0.5 px. Heading, the font is Montserrat, weight is regular, size is 57, the line height is 64, and the letter spacing is minus 0.25 px. Subheading is, the font is Montserrat, the weight is light, size is 45, line height is 54, and the letter spacing is minus 0.25 px. For the body text, we have Poppins as the font, weight is light, size is 18, line height is 28, letter spacing is 0. For the other call to action buttons, we have Montserrat as the text, weight is regular, size is 16, line height is 24, 0% for the letter spacing. For the footer section, just Montserrat, the weight is regular, size is 14, line height is 24, and the letter spacing is 0%. And like I said before, all of this is going to be in the description box below. So as I was describing it, you can pause it and see the settings, and you can go ahead and save them as text styles for our project. And I tend to use prefix like desktop, then I'll use desktop, that's the device we're using the fonts for, then the, let me see, a word that will describe the project. So in this case, I'm going to use, for some of them like the logo, I'll just use photography logo for the logo. But for something like this that we're going to change, for this I'll use desktop photography heading. That's the naming convention I use so that I can identify for which device I'm going to use this particular text for, and even if I'm searching across projects in my files, I won't make any mistake when I'm looking for it. The colors is going to be the fill, that's the really dark fill that it's almost black. It's just 12 3 times, and this is just going to be pure white. So you can go ahead and save all of this. This is just going to be for the desktop section. When we move on to other devices for tablets and mobile, then we can save those styles. But for now, just go ahead and save these. So I've saved my textiles and other variables, just textiles and the colors. I have this, I save this as photography logo. So I'm using photography in some places because I know I'm going to use the same fonts, whether it's in the desktop, whether it's in tablets or mobile. But in cases like this, I indicated that it was for the desktop. This one as well, but the buttons, we're not going to change the buttons, so I just left it as photography button. If we change anything, we'll save it as we go. I don't want to just kind of put everything out there so that you may not get it, so you don't get confused. But yeah, I'll just go ahead and save this. Even these colors, I've changed it to photography color 1, photography color 2. Okay, let's start with our I'll just delete this, we don't need that. So let's start with the home page. How I tend to do it is I build my websites on the wireframes. That's why I created a copy. Let me start here. So I'm just going to select this, and I'm going to use Ctrl and backspace to ungroup it. I'm going to select this text, and I'm going to change it to the hero, the logo text that I've saved. Come to all of this. I'm going to select all of this, and I'm going to change the text to photography header. Now I can make this an auto layout, and I'm going to make the padding on the left and right 0, top and bottom is 0. Same thing with this. I'm going to also make it 0, top and bottom 0. Do the same for the remaining 0. Next is this one. Final one, contacts, make it an auto layout and make the padding left and right padding 0, top and bottom padding 0. Now select all of these, the 5 header contents, make all of them an auto layout, make the gap between them 44. I'm going to move this, let's say, a bit. I'm going to select the icon, which is the name, make it an auto layout as well. So the gap between them is auto, that's fine. And yeah, this is going to work for our project. So the spacing from the top and bottom, that's the top of our frame, and the top of our header section is going to be 75. I'm just going to check that it's currently 119. I'm just going to move it up till we have 75. Okay, yeah, we're done with the header section. Let's now work on this other hero section. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to change this to I saved it as desktop photography hero, so I'm just going to change it to that text. I'm going to go to my notes. So when you see this text in the GitHub repository I'm going to create, I'm going to add the links to each image in the section where that image is located, so you don't need to be skipping in between images to figure out which one goes where. I'm going to just add the links to the images, so you can just click the link, delete the download the image and use it in your project. I'm going to copy this text, which is just capturing stories, and I'm going to paste it here. Let's select this text. I'm going to also change it to the hero section text, and this is going to be true lenses, and I'm going to paste that here. I'm going to just, let's say, move it for now. Let me zoom out. I'm going to need more space to work with, so I'm going to increase the length of this entire hero section and entire frame, and I'm going to just copy everything and select everything and move this down. Let me see, maybe a bit more, just to make sure I have enough space to work with. So I'm just going to give myself more space. I'm just going to copy this text box because I actually need a text box here. So I'm going to bring this here, go back to our text. I'm going to copy this text, just this line, and I'm going to paste it here. I think it didn't copy properly. I'm just going to paste that. Let me change the text of this particular text, the typography. I'm going to change it to this is the text of photography hero body. That's why I saved it as. I'm going to bring this here, and now let's bring in our call to action buttons here. The padding for this hero section is going to remain the same, but we're going to only have this format of button. So I'm just going to delete this one, and I'm going to create another copy. This is going to be view portfolio, and what I'm going to do here is select this text, and we're going to change it to our photography button, and I'm going to select this one also, change it to photography button. Let's change the corner radius for these two buttons to 2. Now that I've brought in all my content, I can just select all of these. They all have the same color, and I'll change them. Although it's still going to be white, we're just going to change it to actual color we're using, exactly the same color, but for the sake of our project, just change it so that if you want to change everything that has that color, it will be easy to change, and it's proper design, rules, just to have everything neat. I'm going to select this, and let me change the width to 1440. That's the width of our entire frame, and the height is going to be 435. Now we'll still use this placeholder to build this section, then we'll replace the image. So let's start with this one. You know what, we haven't changed the color of this header, so let's just go ahead and change it to our actual color for our project. I'm going to select this, Shift A, make it an auto layout, and padding for the left and right is going to be 0 for now, and it's going to be 0 for now. And to make sense, eventually select this one also, make it an auto layout, make the padding 0 for the left and right, 0 for the top and bottom. Same with this one, make it an auto layout, make the padding for the left and right 0, top and bottom 0. Select these two, make them an auto layout, make the gap 16. Select these three and make them an auto layout, and make the gap between them 10. Now let's work on this one. Select this one. What we're going to do is make the width of this fill container and make the padding for just the left 180, and we're going to change the alignment of this particular one to the left. Select this one, open this, change the padding for just the right to 180, select the width to fill container, change the alignment to right. And okay, there's one more final setting I believe we're supposed to do. Select the actual text, set it to fill container, select this text also, click on it till you've opened the frame and selected on the text, set it to fill container. This one is going to move to the right, change the alignment of the text to right. And just to make sure our frame is responsive, I'm just going to minimize it, and yeah, we have a responsive frame. When we add in our image, this image will reduce proportionally. So just in case it's confusing, let me select this frame that contains this text. The left padding is 180, alignment is to the left, and it's currently set to fill. The text itself is also set to fill container. This one also, the frame, let me select just the frame, the width is set to fill, alignment is right, then the padding for the right is 180, then the text inside our frame is set to fill container, and the alignment of the text is right. I'm just going to zoom out. Now select this, maybe let me just get it closer so that, yeah, I'm going to select this entire frame, this one, make it an auto layout, make the gap between them 25. Select this text, this frame, make it fill container, change the alignment to, it's supposed to be, the alignment is supposed to be right, and open this, change the padding for the right to 180. Also select the text inside the frame, change the width to fill container, change the alignment of the text to right. And I'm just going to select this, and when I reduce this, that one too should reduce, and it will make it easier for us to add it to other frames, that's other layouts for other devices. Let's reduce, let's bring this here, select this frame again, the entire frame, select these two buttons, and I want to make sure that it's on this edge before I do it, so that I won't need to probably have to do it again. Select this and this, make it an auto layout. So the alignment is currently set to left. Let's just have this, I'll change it to center, no worries. I'm going to just select these two, that's the frame, and we're going to change the alignment to right, go to width, fill container, and open it, open the padding, and make the padding on the right 180. And now I want to use it in other layouts. That's for mobile. Let's say this is, let's just get that, oh, this is what the mobile looks like. It's going to work fine. All we need to do is change the text, and we are done with this. Now we're going to add our image. I've gone in and brought in my image for the hero section and for other parts of our homepage. So I'm going to select this image, change the width to 1440, and I'm going to double click, come here and select crop, and I'm going to reduce this to 435 to match the height of the placeholder. Let me get closer. 435. I'm going to zoom out, and we're going to have the focus on her eyes like this. Maybe let's take it up a bit like this. Escape. Now I'm going to select the image, cut it, select this placeholder text, image, Control Shift R to paste and replace that image. Once again, let's just check to make sure it's not. So I'm just going to select this image, and for the dimensions, change the width to fill container. Let's see what happens now. Okay, now it's responsive. Yeah, this is our homepage hero section. I'm just going to change this to homepage. Let's say it's in the prototype. I'm just going to run this. So this is what it looks like. I'm just going to fit with. Yeah, let me go back to, let me select the entire homepage, and we're going to go to the fill, and I'm going to select color 1. Okay, now this is what our hero section looks like, and yeah, let's just take a moment to look at it. Okay, let's go to the next section. Let's now work on this about section. This is just going to be a brief introduction, and we're going to copy the text, which is meet Alex Carter, and I'm going to paste that here. This is what I want. I want the text to be on 2 lines, meet on 1 line, Alex Carter on the other line. And we're going to change the typography to the subheading text. That's the one that is Montserrat, and size is 45. And I'm going to move this text a bit closer. Let me copy my text. I'm going to copy this brief description, and I'm going to paste that here. Let's change the font, the typography, to our body text. And finally, we're going to change this one to our call to action text. Let's now insert an icon. So I'm just going to right click, plugins, and we're going to run Iconify and search for the exact search form is arrow right, and we're going to use Google material icons, and I'm going to close it. This is the icon we're going to use, and I'm going to just come here and bring this in. I'm going to close this, and quickly I'm just going to change it to color so we don't lose it in our frame. Let's change the dimensions. The width and height is going to be 20 by 20. Select this to make it an auto layout. Let's change the alignment to center and the gap to 10. I'm going to scroll out. Now select this tree, make them an auto layout. Select the entire thing and make the gap 25, and we're going to have it so that this entire description will be on just 4 columns. So I'm going to reduce this so we have our text on 4 columns. So this one is currently the reason why it's doing that, and it's just responsive. But if it's not for you, just change this center one to the center text to fill container for the width, so that way it will be responsive. For the other two, just leave it as it is. For this image, I know it's quite redundant to do what I'm doing, but that's just how I do it. I like modifying the placeholders. Once I'm comfortable with the entire design, then I add in my image. The height is going to be 465 and the width is going to be on the remaining 8 columns. So I'm just going to reduce it, and the width is going to be 713. Let me make sure that, yeah, just making sure that we have this here. Now we can select these two, align them to the center, and just group them. Now let's crop our image. Let's start with the width. So let's check the width, 713. So I can select the image and change it to 713. Double click the image, change this fill to crop, and now we'll crop this image and we'll reduce the height to 465. Just 2 more. Okay, and we have this escape. Select the image, Ctrl X to cut, and then Ctrl Shift R, and yeah, let's see it in the prototype. Let me scroll down. The image isn't loading right now. Okay, so this is just the brief introduction of photographer in the home page. Let's move on to the next section, and I just noticed I just made this typo. Export my work. It's not export my work, it's explore my work. I apologize about that. I'm just going to change this to explore. Let me go back to my mood board. So if you wrote export for whatever reason, once again, I sincerely apologize. Okay, explore my work, and let's change the typography to our subheading. Change typography to our subheading. I'm going to move this here, and I'm going to check that it's aligned to this edge. I'm going to just copy this text box and reuse it. I'm going to go to my notes, and I'm going to copy this text here, and I'm going to paste that here. I'm going to change the resizing to auto width. Okay, let me move this back here. The alignment of the text should be left. Now let's change the typography to our body text. Yep. Let's come and paste the remaining text. So I'll start with portrait photography. I'm going to paste, go to the next one, copy it, and paste. Finally, I'm going to copy this, and I'll paste. Let's select this tree, go to typography, and make it our body text also. So what we're going to do now is select this portrait photography, Ctrl B, make that bold. Select landscape photography, Ctrl B, make that bold. finally this one, Control B, make that bold. The dimensions for these images, these image placeholders, the way I like working on my project is these boxes tend to be easier to work with for images. Well, for me, especially when I'm trying to build out my project and I may change things around, that's why I'll modify these ones before I bring in my image. It just allows me create my entire work before I bring in my images. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. You can just use the dimensions I'm using now and add your images to your work. So I'm going to make this 360 and height is going to be 200, and I'll just move this. Let's get close, and you can see that we want the bottom right corner to touch the top left corner of this image, and we'll do the same for this one. I'm just going to move it like this. Now what we're going to do is center this text with, align it to the middle here and then to the center here. Same thing with this one. Let me move this text till we align it. That didn't feel okay. Just now, that's most definitely not centered. Yeah, let me just check for this one also. You know what, I should have just done that in the first place. I'll just select this one, okay, and I'll just select all 6 and group them. Final detail is this a call to action button. Now I realize some of you may be thinking I could use a component for this, but I tend to treat even buttons as part of my prototype, and it's just the way I tend to do things. Once again, this is just my workflow. If you are more comfortable using, create a button component or a call to action component and then reuse it in your project, that's fine. It's just the reason why there's no real reason why I'm doing it. It's just my workflow. I tend to view those buttons as part of the final part of my design, because that's where I tend to work with a lot of prototypes, and I want to figure out what I'm going to prototype, what I'm not going to. So that's just why I do it like that. There's no real reason. I'm just going to paste that here. Let me move this. Let's see here, and I'm going to copy this text, which is view full portfolio, and I'm going to paste that here. I'm going to zoom out, select all of this, and I'm going to make their spacing 20. We can either use a group or an auto layout. I'll just use a group because this center one is already a group, so using an auto layout really doesn't matter. If you want to, you can, but I'm going to use a group. I tend to switch between which one I use depending on what I'm working on. All right, now we can go ahead and bring in our images. So I'm just going to come out here, and these are the images we're going to use for this. So just like I explained as we saw earlier, the dimensions for our images is the width is 360 and the height is 200. So I'm going to select all 3, and I'm going to change their width to 360, and now I can crop them. The height is currently 240 for this one. Double click, I'm going to crop, and I'm just going to reduce this till I have 200, and I'll just try my best to center this image. Again, escape to close that, select this image. I'm going to double click, and I'll select crop, change the height to 200. I'm going to bring this, let's say here, escape, and finally we have this image. I'm going to double click, crop, and I'm going to reduce this. Let's reduce it from the bottom also till we have 200. All right, that looks good. Let's start with this image. Cut this image and then select this image placeholder, Ctrl Shift R to replace. Select this second image, cut, Ctrl Shift R, and finally you can cut this image, Ctrl Shift and R. And that's it for the Explore My Work section in the home page. Let's look at it in the prototype view. I'm just going to give this a moment, let the images, if they'll come. Okay, it's taking a while to load, but essentially we're done with Explore My Work section. When we come back the next time, hopefully the images will have loaded and you can see what it looks like. Let's now move on to the What Clients Say section. I'm going to come here. Let's start with the heading. I'm going to change the typography to our desktop subheading text, and I'm just going to make sure it's aligned to the left of our column. Select this text. Let's change it to our body text. I'm going to, while this is selected, make it an auto layout, and the padding on the left and right is 10, top and bottom is 10. We're going to leave it like that. I'm going to select this rectangle and delete it. Make things a bit hard to see, but we're going to just work on this very quickly. I'm just going to extend the width of this so that it will align on 4 columns. Then what we can do now is add a fill. So I'm just going to select fill, and the fill color is going to be a dark color. Let me copy my text before I finish formatting it. So I'm just going to start with this first client testimonial. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it. And what I'm going to do is select this and Ctrl B to make that bold. Let's move on to the next one. We can just select all of this and delete. Let's create copies of this. So I'm just going to bring a copy here, another copy here. Let's copy our remaining testimonials. I'm going to paste that, and I'm just going to select this, make it bold, and finally let's copy our final text, and I'm going to paste that. Select this, make it bold. Now this, I don't like the fact that we have an extra line, so I'm just going to increase the length of the text box so that we'll have it on 4 lines. Now this image, or the placeholder image, when we add our image, we want it to go across the entire frame, the entire width of the frame, but the height we want it to be 435. And now we can now place these rectangles. I'm going to come very close here, move this like that. I'm going to move this one in first, and I'll just kind of eyeball. Well, put the final one, put this one here, and finally let's just move this one in between them. I'm just going to move this one here. Let me see the spacing for this two. I'm selecting the image placeholder and the title. I want it to be 25. Yeah. Now let's format, let's crop our image so we can add it to our frame. The width of this image is going to be 1440, and I'm just going to crop it to 435. So I'm going to double click this. When this dialog comes up, I'm going to select crop, and let's crop this. I want to have this camera show in the section we're going to keep. Let me zoom out, and I'm going to move this down like this. Escape, and we're going to go ahead and cut this. Control Shift R to paste and then replace. And I'm just going to select all of this, and we're going to group it. Let's open our prototype view and see it. Yeah, this is what our client says section, and this is the explore my work section. Yeah, we're done with this. Let's move to this. Let's create something beautiful together section, which is basically a mini call to action section. I'm going to select this heading, change the typography to our subheading typography. I'm going to reduce this so we have our text in this way. Let me come here to make sure. Okay, let me change this text first before the typography of this text before I paste in the content. Change this to our body text. Let me increase this. Let me grab my text, and it's just 2 lines of text. I'm going to just copy that and paste. I want this to be on just 2 lines. Finally, I'm going to, if you have a call to action button that you've already created as a component, you can use that. I'm just going to copy that, and this would be a session. Now select these 3. Let's make sure. Okay, select all 3, make them an auto layout, and we are going to change the gap to 25. Next, I'm just going to extend this to the edge. This is what we want. Part of the image will be all the way to the edge, and it will be around here. So the width is going to be you know what, let's not do that. There's no need. This is one of the times where I'm just like, it's redundant. The width is going to be 721, and the height is currently 481. I want to reduce it to 432. So double click, go to crop, and we're going to just reduce this to 432. I'm just going to zoom out. I'm just going to and leave it like this. Finally, let me just rotate this image. So I just flipped horizontal. Now just grab this image and bring it into our frame. The right side of the image should touch the edge of our frame, and we can select this too, and we're going to use Alt V, that's align vertical centers. I'm just going to align those two. Yeah, and I'm going to group it. That's it. Let's see it in our prototype. Let's see it in what it looks like. Let's give this a moment. Yeah, that's it, and we're done with this section. Let's go on to the next section, which is going to be this one. I'm going to change the width is 255, height will also be 255. I'm just going to select all of this. Let's build it out first, and then We'll bring in our images. It's supposed to be aligned to this column. I'm going to create another copy here, and I'm going to make sure it's aligned to these other columns, 3 columns. I'm going to use Shift and Alt, create another copy, keep the spacing at 20, and finally create another set of copies, and the spacing between them should be 20 also. Let's grab this image by the bottom left and move it to the side, just to make sure, yes, it's aligned to this set of 3 columns. Let's change the text, the typography of this text. Let me just make sure it's at the it's at the edge there, and I'm going to change the typography to subheading text. Let me just reduce the size of this text box. And finally, for this follow me, I'm going to copy this. If you have a button, you can use it. I'm going to paste this and replace, oops, not that. Alright, I'm going to copy this, which is just follow ads, then a placeholder for the Instagram handle. You can, based on your project, you can paste in any Instagram handle, but I'm just using a placeholder. I'm going to bring this closer. We want the spacing to be 20. We can just make this an auto layout. Now let's format our images and then replace them in our frame. First, I'm going to select all of these images and change their width to 255. Let's start with this first image. I'm going to double click, change this drop down and then to crop, and I'm going to just reduce the height here. Let's come down and reduce the height till we have 255. Yeah, escape. Let's go on to this image. Same thing, double click, click this drop down, select crop, and let's bring this, make it 255. Escape. I'm going to move on to this image. The width is already 255, so we're just going to crop it and then zoom in. I'm going to select crop, and I'm holding shift, that's why it's increasing proportionally. We're going to, I'm holding shifts and increase this height till we have 255. Let's center it a bit. Let's reduce the image a bit, so I'll have as much as it as possible in frame. Yeah, let's go to the next. Double click this image, crop, and let me start by extending this till we have 255. And I'm going to increase the, I'm holding shift and then increasing the height of this image. Yeah, escape. Let's come to this image, double click, select this drop down, select crop. Let's do it from the bottom this time till we have 255. Let's move this up a bit. Escape, final image, crop, reduce it, reduce it to 255. Let's bring this image up like this. Escape. Okay, so cut this image, Control Shift R. Cut this image, Control Shift R. Next is this one. Cut it and then replace it in your frame. Next is this one. We're going to replace it here. This image is next. We're going to replace it. And finally we have this one. We're going to cut and then replace. This, let's align this to this images on this at the center, and now we can just select everything and then group it. Let's go to our prototype view, give this a moment. Yeah, that's it. We're done with the Instagram, or what we skip Instagram highlights section. Let's now move to the final section, which is the footer. I'm just going to, let me go back to the top of my entire frame. I'm going to copy the logo. You can just recreate it if you want, but I just copied it. I use Control and backspace to ungroup this. Control Shift R, and we're going to replace this logo. Next is this row. I'm just going to ungroup them. Let's start with this one. Change the font to the typography to our footer section text, which is this one, and I'm just going to make it an auto layout, and then change the padding, left and right padding to 0, top and bottom padding to 0. I'm going to select this, delete them. Let's create copies of this home text, and I'm going to select these changes to about. This one is going to be portfolio, and this one is going to be services. Let's select all of them, make it an auto layout. The gap is going to be 20, and I'm just going to, let's just keep it there for now. Let's now work on this one. I used Control and backspace to ungroup this. So let's select this. I'm going to just grab the text for this. The location is going to be just the state and country. I'm going to paste that here. Go back to our text. I'm going to copy the placeholder for our email, paste, and finally I'm going to copy the placeholder for our phone number, and I'm going to paste. Select all three, change the typography to the footer text. Now let's go on to Iconify. I'm just going to right click, plugins, and I'm going to run Iconify. First icon is location, and we're going to use hero icons. So I'm just going to hero icons outline. Select this. The color is currently set to white. I'm just going to bring that here. Next is going to be mail. I'm going to change the icon sets to hero icons outline. select this, and I'm just going to drag in a copy. Finally, we have phone. And once again, let's use hero icons. Oops, no, outline. And I'm just going to bring that in. Can close this for now. I'm going to, this is supposed to be, want it to be 20 by 20. Select this to make it an auto layout. Make the alignment center and the gap 5. Same with this one. I'm going to just bring this closer. I'm going to select this, change the dimensions to 20 by 20. And I'm going to select this to make it an auto layout. Alignment is currently center, gap is 5. That's what I want. Finally, this one, going to change the dimensions of the icon to 20 by 20, and we're going to select this to make it an auto layout. Gap should be 5. Let's select this tree, make all of them an auto layout, and the gap is going to be 20. And I'm just going to bring this here. Now finally, we're going to work on this icon. So Control and backspace to ungroup. We can just select this tree and delete them. This one, change the size to 30 by 30. I'm just going to bring it here. Let's run Iconify once more. I'm just going to run that. So this is going to be LinkedIn. Let's go for let me go with this. The icon sen is, I think it's BI that it said. I'm going to just bring in a copy. Next is Instagram. We're just going to, let's just choose this first option. Going to bring that in. And finally, we have Facebook. I'm just going to choose this first one. Let's close this. Let's select all 3 icons and change their dimensions to 30 by 30. Select this. Oops. Alt V to align them vertically, and I'm going to make them an auto layout. Gap is 20. Let's zoom out, and I'm going to bring it here. Now we can select all of this, make it an auto layout. The alignment is currently center, that's fine, and then we'll make the gap 10. Okay, that's it. Well, kind of. Let's align it to the center. Let's go to our prototype, give this a moment. Yeah, so sometimes this tends to happen. I'll just have to restart Figma, and then this would or I'll be able to delete it. But even if I go to my frame and I try to select this, I won't see it. But no worries, I'll just restart Figma after this. But now let's figure out the spacing, and then we are going to change the color. Yes, I didn't forget. I tend to change it sometimes when I feel like it's just better for our design, but in general I tend to leave it till the last step. I'm going to zoom out. Let's go all the way back to the header. I'm just going to check the color. So our color is already photography color too, which is just white color. I'm going to, while the header is selected, I'm going to select this hero section. The spacing is currently 115. Make it 90 and select the hero section. Okay, we've changed all the colors to our photography color 2. That's fine. Next, while that section is selected, select the next section, change the spacing to 150. Let's select this section, and you see the section colors. We have both photography 2 and just pure white, so we can go ahead and just change all colors in this section to photography 2 color. While that section is selected, select the next section, change the spacing to 150. Select just this section. Let's change the color. Just where it says selection colors, change this color to a photography 2 color. Next, same with this one. Select this other one, spacing 150. Now we can select this one, change the color to this white color to our photography 2 color, and the dark colors are already our photography 1. Select this section and this section, change the spacing to 150. Let's select this one, wherever it's not our photography color, change it. There's no dark color in this section. This one, let me just move it. It's getting, spacing is already a bit much, so it's hard to see what we're doing. Okay, select this one and this one, change the spacing to 150. Select just this section, and whatever isn't our color, change it to photography 2 color. This section and this section 150. For the spacing, now you can select this section and we can change it to photography 2 color. Now I'm going to zoom out. What I do is I right click and then click on the frame to select it quickly, and I'm just going to reduce this, and what I'm going for is 100 from the bottom. I'm going to reduce this. Okay, I'm just going to increase the height of our frame by 2, so we have 100 from the bottom like this. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to just select my home page to make sure that's okay. So that's what I tend to do. After I'm done, I'll select the entire page and then go to selection colors and make sure that I didn't miss any colors. So we only have our photography 2 and photography 1, which are the only colors we're using in this project. Okay, let's just take a moment to scroll through it now that we've done the spacing. And yeah, this is our desktop homepage. Let's move on to the about me section, the about me page. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to select this homepage, Control Alt C to copy properties, and then I'm going to come here, Control Alt V to paste properties. So now we have the same fill color. Let me change this to just about me. It's not the wireframe anymore. Select this, delete. Let's copy the header section here. Select this frame and we're going to paste this. Next, select this about me. Let's change the, let me zoom in a bit, typography to this time heading. And let me just give it a bit of space. Just make sure it's aligned to the left. I'm going to create a copy of this text box instead of creating another one. So I'm just going to hold Alt and drag. Let's change this to body text. Okay, let's go to our notes. Okay, this time we're going to move on to the about me. Once again, AI generated content, just adding my disclaimer there. Just going to copy this text. And I'm going to paste it here. I'm going to increase the width of this text way over here, like that. Select this to make their spacing 25, and you can make it an auto layout. Next, let's select this subheading, and I'm going to make it a subheading text. Select this one, change the typography to body text. Let's go and grab the content for this, and I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste that here. So for the width of this text box, let me make sure that these two text boxes are aligned to the left here. Once I want this text box to just be on 5 columns on the left hand side of our frame. So select this to make it an auto layout and change the gap to 25. The image is going to be 710 by 735. Like that. Now let's go in and grab our images. The image I'm going to be using for this particular section, which is the about me section, is this image. So I'm going to change the width to 710, and the height, I'm going to double click, go to crop, it's going to be 735. Let me just increase this. I'm holding shift while I do this so I won't distort the image. And just let me move it this a little to the right, to the left, sorry. And I'm just going to click that, cut, select this placeholder, Control Shift R to place and replace. I'm going to select both of them, and I use Alt V to align vertically, or this is what I did, just change the alignments and then align vertical centers, and we can group that. Let's go to the prototype view. I'm just going to move to the next one. Let me give this a moment. Let me restart the prototype. Hopefully that will help. It's not loading. My internet is just kind of wonky. There's nothing wrong with it, but when we move on to the next section, hopefully that by then the image would have loaded. Let's move on to the next section, and what I'm going to do is just increase the height of my frame. I'm going to select all of this and bring it down. Let me create a copy of this text, and I'm going to bring it up here. Change the typography to subheading typography. I'm going to come over here, copy that, and I'm going to paste. Next, let's select this, make it an auto layout. Just extend this, make the padding on the right 0, and for the left we'll make it 180. Just move it here for now. Next is our image. I'm just going to do this directly on the image. So this is the image we're going to use. Change the width to 1440, and we're going to double click and then crop. We'll reduce the height to 450. Just going to bring this till we have 450. Like this. I'm going to close that. I'm just going to bring the image into our design. Let me move it here. The padding for this is supposed to be, the top and bottom is supposed to be 0. Sorry about that. So it's just the padding on the right that is 180. Every other padding for the right, only the left is 180. The right is 0, top and bottom is 0. Let's create a copy of this text box so we can use it. I'm just going to bring a copy of this text box, and we're going to change the typography to body text. Let's bring in our text before we format it. I'm going to select everything here and I'm going to paste. I'm going to change this. I'm going to make this a bullet point, so I'm using, I believe it's the hyphen or just the dash, that is the key. So just in case you're wondering what key, this one, that's the key I'm using. Just put in the front of text and to make it a bullet point. And just when you put the dash, then you press space to make it a bullet point. So in this, where it says featured in, make it bold, select this, bold. Finally we have this, I'm going to make it bold. Select this text box, make it an auto layout, make the padding on the top and bottom 0, for the left and right 180, and let's increase the width of this. Just going to select this. Let's select this text box, fill container, select this 3, make it an auto layout, and this one, let's start with this top. This top one is already like we formatted it, but let's just make the fill container, change the alignment to right. This image, the width is currently fill container, leave it like this. This one, let's start with the width, fill container, and I want to check whether it's responsive. This one is set to fill, the frame is set to fill. Let's check. Always, it's better to just check. Okay, the bottom text is responsive, the top is not, so I believe it's, I'll just double click. So now I'm selecting the text, set it to fill container. So sometimes working with auto layout just requires you to just, try things, check things, whether it's working. If it's not, change it. Gap is going to be 25. Let me just, so we have our responsive auto layout here. So let's look at it in the prototype. So our hello, I'm Alex Carter, this introduction is finally loaded. Then we have my journey, my photography journey section. Yeah, we're done with this. Let's move on to the next one. Let's zoom out. Let me make this a bit longer again. I'm going to select all of this, bring it down. So what we're going to do, this next part is very simple. We're just going to create a copy of this. So I'm just use Alt and Shift and drag, and I'm going to create another copy of this section. Let's go to our notes. I'm just going to copy this text, come here and paste. Let's zoom out. Let's grab the remaining text, copy it, and I'm going to paste. Let's also make this 3 bullet points. Like that. Finally, it's this image. So the height of this image is 450, and I'm going to use this one. Make the width 1440, and the height is going to be 450. Double click, select crop, reduce it to 450. Okay, escape to close that dialog, cut the image, and we're going to Control Shift R to replace and change the width to fill container. So just to make sure, yeah, we have a responsive layout. I'm just going to check it. Yeah, this is what's let me try and get as much of it in frame. This is what we have, and we are done with this section. Let's now move on to the next one. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to select this and delete them. Let's bring this up here. I'm just going to align it to the left. Now change typography to a subheading. I'm just going to copy this heading, paste it. Let me create a copy of this text, change the typography to our body text. I'm going to copy this first set of text, I'm going to paste that. I'm just going to increase the width like this. I'm just checking to make sure. Now let's add our images. I'm going to zoom out, and these are the 4 images we're going to use. I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to change their width, or rather their height, to 288. Then their width is going to be, well, we'll have to check. This is why I like using the placeholder images. I'm just going to bring a copy from here. I want it to occupy 6 columns. I'm going to bring it here. 1, 2, yes, close enough. 6. So the width will be 531. Let me just build it here. Height is 288. I'm just going to bring another one here, like this, and the gap between them should be 20. So we'll have this 4 images with gap from the left and right will be 20, top and bottom will be 20 also. So width is 531, height is 288. Let's grab the remaining text. I'm going to paste that here. We can just change the typography to body typography, and we have a call to action button. Once again, if you've created a call to action button, use it. Well, I'll just go and grab one from somewhere else, and I'll just paste here and copy the text, which is get in touch. I'm going to paste. Now let's bring in our images. So the width is 531. The height is 288. So the height is already correct. Now we're going to just change the width. I'm going to double click, crop. I'm going to increase this to 531. I'm just going to hold shift and then increase the width of this image till it fits the entire outline. And I'm just going to close this. Yes. Next, let's do the same for this one. Double click, go to crop, increase the width to 531. I'm going to hold shift and then increase this image like this. Escape. Next image, double click, crop, change the width to 531. Increase the width so it will fit in the frame. Escape. Final image is this one. Double click, then crop. Increase the width to 531. Like this. So I didn't like this image. I know that I want to use this image, but when I was looking at it, this one too is dark, but this one just felt really dark. So I decided I'm going to change it. So when you are doing your project, it's the link to this image that will be there, not this one. So I'm just going to change the width. Let's change the, okay, this one is longer, so let's just change the width to 531. I'm going to double click, crop. Let's reduce this one to 288. We just need to increase it by 4, like that. Escape. Okay, so let's start with this image. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to replace it here. Same with this one. Cut. I'm going to replace. Cut. And Control Shift R to replace. I'm going to cut this one. I'm going to cut. When you're working with images, you can make images auto layout as well. Maybe use the grid, but auto layouts tend to be a tad bit confusing. So I tend to switch between. You see that I'm using responsive auto layouts and I'm also using groups. There's not really much. There's a difference, but sometimes I just switch between them. No real reason. So I'm just going to make this easier for myself, and I'm going to group this, and then come here, lock aspect ratio, select all of this, make it an auto layout, change the gap to 25, select this group, make it fill container. So I'm just going to check if it's responsive. It is. If it's not, just check the text, and they should be set to fill. Their width should be set to fill. Final detail, of course, is the footer. So I'm just going to come here, copy this, go back, select this, Control Shift R, and I'll just make sure that it's aligned to the center, like that. Let's now space out our frame. So select the header section and this brief, let's see the name of our page. The spacing is supposed to be 80. Now select just this about me, and let's come down here and change all the colors to photography 2 color. Select, while this one selected, select this one. The spacing is going to be 42. I'm going to change all colors here to photography 2 color. Select this. Why not? Let me just zoom out. Select all of this, including the footer section, and spacing is going to be 150. If you are feeling brave, come down here and do this. Now sometimes I'll actually even just select the entire frame and change the colors, but if you're working with a lot of colors in different areas, I'll suggest that you don't do that. I'm just doing it because it works this time. So instead of doing it one by one, you could just select the frame and then change everything. Well, yeah. Now finally, let's right click, so I can select this. Want the spacing between this footer section and the bottom of our frame to be 100. Just going to come here, one more, like that. Okay, let's zoom out. This is what we have. Let's go and look at it from the top. So I don't think it's okay. That's loaded now. So we have this about my photography journey, my approach and philosophy, behind the scenes, and finally we have our footer section. Let's go back to our design, and now we can move on to the next page. Let's start creating the portfolio web page. I'm just going to rename this to just portfolio. Select this. Let's change the feel of this web page to the photography color one, which is the almost black color. I'm going to select this and delete. Let me go to this and copy. I'm going to come here and paste. Let's select this. I'm going to get a bit closer just to make sure it's aligned. Change the typography to our heading. Let me go to my notes. We are in portfolio, so I'm going to copy. Okay, no, this, minimize. I'm going to select this, change this to our body text, and I'm going to paste it here. Let's extend the width of this. Going to select this too. Let me make sure it's aligned. Okay, make it an auto layout, make the gap 25. These categories, change it to heading. So desktop photography heading. I'm going to make sure it's aligned to the left. Okay, I'm just going to have that there. Select this. I'm going to check that it's aligned. This is going to be landscape photography. I'm going to change this one to subheading. Let me move this up a bit. I'm going to, let me just create a copy of this. I will change the typography. Change this typography to body text. Okay, it's photography categories. So I'm just going to copy this. It's not just categories. Paste that, and let me grab the brief text before our images. Select this, and I'm going to paste like that. Now let's add in our images. Let's figure out the dimensions of these images. So for all these images, I want it to actually be 3 images on this row, and I'm going to create a copy. All of them are going to be, their height is going to be 250. So the width, this is how I tend to figure out the width of things using this placeholder. So the width of this first image is going to be 1080. That's it. So 1080 by 250 for the first image. This second image, I'll just check that it's aligned to this left. It's going to be on 4 columns. I'm just going to check, and this one, the width is 347, sorry. So all of this is 347. This is going to be on 8 columns, and I'm going to check that it's aligned properly, and I'll show you what it is. Right now the width is 713 and the height is 250, and this one is 347. So we won't even just do the alignment. We'll just bring in, let's format our images and then bring them in. First image is this one, so 1080 by 250. I'm going to change the width to 1080 and double click, go to crop, and we're going to make the height 250. I'm going to reduce it to, we have 250. I'm going to zoom out like this. Okay, escape. Let's do the second image, which is going to be this one. Let's change the height to 250 to match that in our projects. The width is supposed to be 347, so I'm going to change the width to 347 like that. Just going to align it to the center. So 347. This one, let me just change the width is 347. Then I'm going to change the height to 250. Going to go to crop. I'm going to $250. Okay. Let me just bring that down to escape. Next image, this one, let me do the height. Let me change the height. Height to be 250, then the width will be 347. Crop. Okay, let me just remove this and just try and center it as best as I can. Escape. For this image, I'm going to, okay, I haven't changed the, let's change the height to 250 and crop this image. I'm going to increase this. Let's make the width 347. I didn't like this image, so I just went in and brought in a different image. I'm just going to delete it. So don't worry, the link to the proper images will be in the description. So let's change the height to 250 and the width for this one is going to be 713 because that's the one that will go here. So I'm just going to double click, crop 713. I'm going to hold shift down and then increase the width of this, escape. Okay, so now we can bring in our images. Let's start with this first one. Cut, Control Shift R to replace it. Next is this image. Cut and replace. Next image is this one. Cut and replace. Next is this image. Cut and replace. Next is this one. I'm going to cut this and I'm going to finally select this one. I'm going to use Ctrl Shift R to cut and replace. The spacing for this is going to be 20. So I'm starting with that first one. Select this to make it 20. Select this 3, make them 20. And just to make sure, let me select all 3. It's showing 19. It's supposed to be 20. Okay, so I'm going to select all of these images and I'm going to group them. Select 1, 2, 3. Make the spacing 25. and just group it. Let's see this in our portfolio view. Let me prototype, sorry. I'm going to give this a moment. My internet isn't loading. It happens sometimes. Let me try restarting it. Okay, by the time we move on to the next section, hopefully it would have loaded. Well, yeah, we're done with this section. Let's move on to the next section. Before we move on to our next section, I just want to change the spacing for this. It feels a bit too much. I'm just going to reduce it to 20. So the next item is portrait photography. I'm going to copy this, and let me increase this. I'm just going to copy all of this, move them down, then bring a copy of this text up like this. Let's change the typography to subheading, and I'm going to paste my text here, which is portrait photography. I'm going to create a copy of this, change this to the body text, and we're going to copy this text here. What I want for this, we have 6 images, and those six images will be on 4 columns each, and then their height will be 500. So let's just go ahead and format our images. Let's start with this one. I haven't even begun. I decided to swap this image for something else. So as usual, the actual image you need is going to be what you see in the link. So the width for images is 347. So I'm just going to select all of them, and I'm going to change all their width to 347. Then we can now format their heights. I'm going to double click, go to crop, and I'm going to this one. I need to increase it to 500. A little bit, yeah. And I'm holding shift down. I'll just increase this. Escape. Let's move on to the next image. This one we're going to reduce. Go to crop, reduce to 500, like that. I'm going to move to the next image, 520. We're going to reduce. I'm going to select crop. I'm going to reduce the image, the height of the image, like this. Let me just move it slightly. I'm going to close that. Let's move to the next image. Double click this one. We have to increase crop. Going to increase to 500. I'm going to hold shift down and then increase this. Close that. Double click, crop. This will increase to 500. Hold shift and then increase the size of this image. Final image we're going to reduce. I'm going to select crop, and from the bottom I'll reduce it to 500. Escape. Let's bring in our images into our frame. Start with this one. Just bring it here. Next images, this one. Bring it in. Next image is this. We have this one next. This. And finally, this image. Let me make sure our image is aligned properly. Okay, on this one, just align this image here. Same with this one. Just going to align that like that. Next is this image. I'm just going to check it's aligned to this column. Check the alignment of this image also. And finally, let's align this image. I'm going to select this images, align to top just to make sure. Select this to make the spacing 20. This one also 20. 20. Let's select all the images and group them, and select all three, make the spacing 20, and then group. And we're done with portrait photography. Let's move on to the next section, which is street photography. I'm going to make sure it's aligned to the edge here. Let me go to my notes, copy this, I'm going to paste. Let's change the typography to subheading. I'm going to create a copy of this text, change this one to the body text. Let's grab the short text for this section. I'm going to copy that, paste. Now let's build out our layout for this image, these images. So what I want is, we're going to have one large image here. The height is going to be 540. This is just two images. I'm just going to delete that. The height for these two will be 260. The width is already 347, so it's on 4 columns. This one is on 8 columns. The width for this one is 712 because I want it to be on 8 columns. Let me just make sure. Okay, it's supposed to be one more, 713. So 347 by 260 for these two. This is supposed to be on 6 columns, so let's see the width. I'm going to come really close to check. The width for this one is 530, height is 250. Okay, so now we can use this to, let me just, now that we've built out the layout for our images, let's just go ahead and crop our images and bring them in. So let's just go out here, and these are the images I was going to use in this section. Let's start with this image. This image is the largest image in this particular section. So the height is 540 and the width, what was it, 713, I believe. Yes, width is 713. So I'm going to double click, crop. I'm going to increase this so we have 713. Now I'm going to hold shift down and increase the width of this image till it fits within our frame, and I'm just going to move this, let's say around like here. I'm going to close that. This image, let's make the height 260 and the width is going to be 347. Double click, crop, reduce the width of the image to 347. I'm going to move this image, let's see, around here, close that. Let's do this one. This one, the height is also going to be 260, width is 347. So I'm just going to double click, crop, and I'm going to reduce it till it's 347. Let me move this a bit to this side. This is all the height for this one is also going to be 260, but the width I believe is 530. Okay, so I'm going to double click this. Oops, wrong one. Supposed to be crop 530. I'm going to hold shift down and increase the width of this image. Let's just leave it like this. Final image is this one. Height is going to be 260, the width 530. I'm going to increase this. And I'm going to increase this so it fits within the frame. I'm going to close that. Now let's bring in our images. Let's start with this one. I'm going to cut it, replace. Next is this image. I'm going to replace, cut this one. I'm going to replace it, this image, Control Shift R, and finally this image. I'm going to replace it. Okay, let's now space everything out. I'll select this to, and I'll just go to the alignment and align top just to make sure. Select this to make the spacing 20. Just going to make sure it's aligned properly. Yes. I'm going to select these two images. Spacing is going to be 20. Select this image and this one. Spacing is going to be 20. Let me just make sure. Okay. Now select all images, group them. Select this subheading, this text, and this one. Let's make it 20. Oops, it's supposed to be 20. Now we can group them. Let's see if this has loaded. I'm just okay. We have our portfolio, so we have this one. We have our portraits, photography, street photography hasn't loaded yet, but yeah, this is the portrait photography. I'm just going to go back to our design tab. Let's work on the next section. We're going to need a bit more space, so I'm just going to extend the height of this. I'm just going to bring this down. I'm just going to keep one copy of this just in case, but I don't need all of this because the images in this section are all the same size. Change this, select this text, change the typography to subheading, and oh no, not yet. Let's select this. Let's create a copy. Maybe I should have just left it. Select this first one, and we're going to select the heading, not subheading, first. Let's go. So now we have this section is called featured projects, and I'm just going to paste that. Then this one at the bottom we can now change to our subheading text. I'm going to copy this. This one is the soul of the city. We don't have any additional text, just that. I'm going to zoom out. Now let's format this images. So the width for all images in this particular section is 530. So I'm just going to select all of them, change all of their width to 530. Now we can change their height to 260. So I'm going to double click this image, go to crop, make it, let's reduce it till we have 260. I'm just going to move this down a bit like that. Close that. Let's come to this image, double click, crop, and we're just going to reduce it so we have 260. Close enough. And I'm just going to move it till, let's see here, close that. Let's go to the next image, double click, crop. We're going to reduce the height so we have 260. I'm going to zoom out and I'll just kind of center the image, let's see, like this. Final image, I'm going to double click, crop, and once again I'm going to reduce this till we have 260. Yeah. Now I can just bring in all of these images into our frame. Going to bring this one in, next this one, this is the next one, and finally we have this one. I'm going to select this to, let's make it 20, the spacing, make this 20 also. Just going to get closer to make sure that this is aligned on top. Yeah, select all 4 images, group them, then you can select this to make their spacing 20 and group. Let's go to our prototype view, and my internet isn't the best today, so it's having issues with loading the images. This one isn't. Hopefully as we go along, network will get better. I'm really sorry about that. Our internet gets really bad sometimes, but yeah, we're done with this section. Let's now move on to the next section. I'm just going to grab a copy of this text box. I'm just going to make sure it's aligned, change the typography to subheading, and let's grab the text. This section is called Wanderlust Landscapes, and I'm just going to paste that. Next, let's format our images. The images are going to be the same dimensions as the one above it because we're going for the same layout. So what I'm going to do is select all of them and just change their width to 530. And now we can crop them. So I'm going to start with this image, change the, select crop, change the height to 260. Like that. Let's leave it like this. This looks fine. I'm going to go to the next image, double click. I'm going to crop and reduce the height to 260. Like this. I'll just kind of center the image as best as I can. Close that. Go to the next image, double click, crop, and let's reduce this to 260. And finally, this image, so let's crop 260. Okay. Maybe I'll move this a bit like this. Escape. Now let's bring in our images. So what I'm going to do, let me move this up. This image is the first one. I'm just going to bring it in. This one is second one. This is third. And finally we have this image. I'm just going to select these two. I'm going to align them to the top. Select these two, make their spacing 20 and make this 20 as well. I'm going to select all images, group them, select this text and this group, make the spacing 20 and group. The next section is I'm just going to delete this. I believe it's Faces of New York, so I'm just going to zoom in here. Okay, let's change the typography to our subheading text. Let's go to the next. Yes, next one is, I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste this here. Now let's grab our images, which are going to be this four. Let me just bring it closer. The width for these images will be 255 and the height is going to be 400. Let's start with this image. So I'm going to double click, go to crop, and this one I have to increase the height so we have 400. And I'm going to hold shift and increase the height of this image, and I'm going to bring the focus to this lady. Let me just, yeah, going to close that, select this, crop. I'm going to increase the height of this to 400. Let me get closer. Okay, hold shifts and then increase the height of this image like this. Let's move on to the next one, which is this one. I'm going to double click, select crop, increase the height of the image, and I'm going to hold shifts, increase the height of this image, close, final image, double click, crop. I'm going to increase the height to 400, hold shifts, increase. I'm going to have this. Now let's bring in our images into our frame. I'm going to start with this image, then I'm going to select this one. I'll get a bit closer in a moment. Select this one, and finally we have this one. Okay, let's go and align them. I'm just going to check here, just going to align this here, same with this one, like this. Finally we have this one. You can just select all four images, group, select this subheading, make it 20, and let's bring this text a bit closer. Let me make sure that it's aligned to the left of our column. Change this text to body text, and let's just copy all of this, and we're going to paste this. Okay, we don't need to change. Let's change the width to auto width. Why not? I'm just going to move this, and the next item is a call to action button. I'm just going to go to one of my other pages and grab a copy of this call to action button. Once again, I'm not creating a component because a component of this button, since I will do that in the prototype section, just my workflow. I'm going to change this to book a session. Now I'm going to select all four, make their spacing 20. Now we can group. Final detail is the footer section. I'm just going to go to one of these pages, copy, come back here, Control Shift R to replace, and it's not in the frame, so I'm just going to take it out, bring it back in, so it's inside our frame. So what happened was, I noticed as for whatever reason, I think maybe I mistakenly took it out. That's why I just took it out and then brought it back in. I'm just going to align this to the center, then I'll take that back to the left. Yeah, that's it. Now let's go back to the top and space out our entire sections. So select the header and this portfolio. I'm going to change the spacing to 80. Select just this section and I'm going to go where it says selection colors, change the color to our photography color 2. I'm going to select this text and this section and I'm going to change the spacing to 100. Select this text, change the color to our photography color, select these two, make their spacing 20. Select this section, change all selection colors that are currently white to photography color 2. I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to select the remaining sections. And we'll go to their spacing 150. Go to selection colors, wherever is white, change it to photography color 2 or whatever you named your white color. And I'm going to just select this and I'm going to, it's currently trying to match it to the distance from the top, that's from the header, but I want it to be 100 from the bottom. I'm just going to 105. Okay, that's it. So we've changed our colors and we've also figured out our spacing. Let's go to our prototype. So this is our portfolio page. I'm just going to scroll down. We have portrait photography, street photography, and so on and so forth. Yeah, we're done with this. Let's now move on to the next page. So I'm just going to zoom out. Since we're done with this one, I can just move it over here because we're going to need a bit of space to have our images. I'm going to zoom in here. Let me rename this to services, and I'm going to change the fill to a black color, well, almost black. I'm going to select this header section and delete it. I'm going to copy this one and I'm going to paste it here. Select services. Let me zoom in. Okay, I want to make sure it's aligned to the left of our entire columns. I'm going to select heading. Select this text. Once again, I just want to check it's aligned. Change the typography to body text. We're currently in the services page. I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to minimize that and I'm going to paste that here. Let's increase the width of this entire text so it will fit in within our guide, and I'm going to make it an auto layout and gap is going to be 25. Select this. I'm going to zoom in, change the typography to our subheading text, and I'm going to select this and change it to our body text. Let's go to our notes and I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste that here Let me move this. I'm going to just select this. So these 4 items here, we're going to make it bullet points. So hyphen then space. Okay, so let me just reduce this. Next, I'm going to, let me just go to a different page and grab that call to action button. If you have one saved, go ahead and use it. And I'm just going to paste and replace, and this will be book a session. We can now select these 3. Let me just make sure, make it an auto layout, and the gap is going to be 20. Now let's work on our images. And what I'm going to do is, we don't need this, I'm just going to delete them. We're going to need a bit more space, so I'm just going to select the entire frame, and I'm going to select everything here and just bring them down. Okay, so we've already established that when it's 4 columns is 347, so that's what we want. I'm just going to select, let's start with these images, these 4, that's this 4 here. I'm going to change their width to 347, and we're going to change their height to 535. I'm going to double click, crop, and I'm going to increase this to 535, hold shift, and then fill this, close that dialog. Let's move to this image. I think I'll need a bit more space to work. I'll just move this over to the side. I'm going to double click, crop, and increase this to 535. I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to hold shift, and I'm going to increase this like this so to fill this frame. I'm going to close that. Next image, let me move this up, crop, make it 535, and I'm just going to increase this, close. Finally, we have this one, select crop, increase it to 535, and I'm just going to increase this. This image, the width is going to be 713 because we want it to occupy 8 columns. So I'm just going to change that to 713, and we're going to crop this so that the height will be 535. I'm going to hold shift down, and I'm going to increase this. And I'm just, going to move this slightly to the right, to the left. Let's now bring in our images. We can start with this one. I'm going to move it to this end like that. This image, bring it here. This image, I'm going to bring it in like this. This one, going to bring it in. Finally, going to bring this one as well. Alright, just to make sure, I'm going to align top. I'm going to select these two images, make the spacing 20. I just want to check the alignments. Select these two, make it 20, these two 20. Let's select all these images, group them, select these two, this auto layout and this group, make their spacing 20, and going to group. Let's see if so services, this hasn't uploaded, this hasn't loaded yet, so I'll just go back to our design tab and we'll move on to this one, which is commercial and branding photography. We're going to change this to subheading text. I'm going to make sure it's aligned to the edge of our layout. I'm going to go over here, change this to the body text. I'm going to go to my notes and I'm going to copy this text. I'm going to paste that here. Let me just take this to up. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is make product photography a bullet point. Same with this one, make it a bullet point. This one as well. Finally, we have this, and we're going to have a call to action button here, which is it's not book a session, it's not book a session. I'm going to just come over here, copy. If you are copying just the way I'm doing, make sure you exit and you're no longer in that group, because even if I paste it down here, it will still count as part of that main group. But if you're adding a button from your components library, you don't have to do that. So I'm just going to use Ctrl+Shift+R to replace. The call to action button is request a quote. I'm going to copy that and we're going to paste. I'm just going to make sure it's aligned to this edge. Same with this text. Alright, select these 3 items, make it an auto layout, and then change the gap to 20. Next is our images. So the images for this one will actually follow this particular layout. So what we're going to do is, let me check the width. It's currently, the width is 530, so this first two will occupy each will occupy 6 columns, but the height is going to be 260, and this first image is going to be on 4 columns, so it's already 347. This one is going to be on 3. It's supposed to be, let me reduce it so to fit, it's supposed to be 255 when it's on 3 columns. And the final one I'm going to check is supposed to be on the last 5 columns, and the width is going to be 438. So I'm just checking to make sure it's aligned so I get the accurate measurements for these images, but for all images their height is going to be 260. Now let's crop our images to fit our design. This first image, since all their height is the same thing, let me just change it so it makes cropping all of them, okay, no, their height 260, so that it makes cropping all of them much easier. So I just need to change their width. I'm going to double click this one and we're going to crop this one. The width is going to be 530, is one of the 2 images on top, So I'm going to increase the width to we have 530. I'm going to increase it like this and maybe move it up a bit. Close that. Second image is going to be this one. The height is already what we want it to be. We're just going to change the width. So go to crop, increase this to 530. I'm going to close this. Let's work on this one. This one is the one that is going to be here. So the height is already 260. The width is going to be 255. So we're going to select this and we're going to increase the width to 255. I don't know why it's doing points something. Hold shift and then increase this, and we're just going to align this one like this. This one is going to be this one here. So width is 438, height is already 260. I'm going to double click, crop. The width is going to be 438. Once again, it's doing that. 438. Oh, I just noticed something. I'll go and check that. It changed the height also. I'm just going to, let me reduce this. I'm going to reduce this back to 260. That means, yes, I was right. So I'm just going to click this and increase the height back to 260. Okay, final one. I'm going to select this one and the width is going to be once again, I don't know why it's doing that. It was working fine before. Okay, was that why? 347. I'm going to hold shift and increase this, and I'm just going to align this. Okay, let's now go in and replace our images. Let's start with this one. I'm going to cut that and I'm going to replace it here. I'm going to select this, cut, replace. I'm going to cut this one. This one is next, replace, and finally we're going to cut and then replace. I'm just going to make sure align to top, select this one, this two, make their spacing 20, same with this two, make it 20, this one also is going to be 20, and I'm just going to group this, select these two items, make their spacing 20, and then group. Let's see. Seriously, my internet isn't it today, so we'll probably just keep designing and eventually we'll see what it looks like at the end. But yeah, we're done with the commercial and branding photography section. Let's move on to the next section, which is events photography. I'm just going to come in to make sure that text is aligned, change the typography to subheading text, and I'm just going to go to my notes Okay, we already have events photography. While I'm here, let me just copy this text and bring this up, checking to make sure it's aligned, and we're going to change this to body text. Paste our text, and I'm just going to bring this up. Let's come to this wedding and make it a bullet point. Same with this concert and live performances. Next one and the next one. Okay, I'll just, let me see, reduce this a bit. Let me come here, copy this, and Control Shift R. I'm going to replace that, and the text for this one is going to be check availability. I'm just going to paste that here. Select all three of this text. Auto layout, make the gap 20. Now the width of this image is 530, so 6 column. Same with this one, 6 column. So we'll not even format it. We'll just use this as placeholders to kind of just bring it back in. The first image, that's the the image on the left. It's going to be, let's just do this for all of them since they all have the same width. 530. Change the height of this one to 400. So double click and then go to crop. Increase the height to 400 and shift drag. Close this. Next is going to be this one. This is the second image that is going to be on the left. So again, double click, crop, and we're going to increase this to 400. Hold shift and then increase the height of this. Close. These three will be on the right. This time we're going to change their height. So double click, crop, 260 for these ones. Okay, let me move this up a bit. Close that. I'm going to double click, crop, and we're going to reduce this to 260. I'm just going to move this up like this, and finally double click this one, crop, make it 260. And I'm going to bring this up like this. Okay, so let's start with this image. Can cut it and then replace here. Same with this one, replace it here. Let's know the first one is this. I'm going to cut and then replace, cut, let's replace this. Finally, let's replace. I'm going to select these two images, align top, select these two, make the spacing 20, select these three, make their spacing 20. Now let's select all images, group them, select this text and this group, make the space 20, and then you can group it. And that's it for this section. Let's move on to the next section, which is fine art prints. Select that heading and we'll change the typography to subheading. I'm just going to move that up. And next is this text. Let's change the typography to body text, and I'm going to raise this up so I will have more space. Go to my notes. I'm going to copy this text and I'm going to paste that here. So make this the last 3 lines bullet points. Let me just move this up a bit. Finally, I'm going to add another call to action button here. I'm just going to come here, copy this, and I'm going to bring this here. What's the text browse prints? Copy that, and we can now paste. I'm just going to bring this here. Let me make sure that it's aligned to this column. Okay, so now we can select these 3, make it an auto layout, and change the gap to 20. Let's now work on this. So the dimensions, let's just leave these ones here. We don't need to change their dimensions. We are going with this exact layout of having 3 images here and 1 here. So let's start with this one. The width for this one is going to be 347. Height is going to be 260. So I'm just going to double click, go to crop, increase the height to 260. And I'm just going to hold shift and then increase this. Let's move to the next image, which is this one. No, okay, this one as well. The width is going to be 347. Height is going to be 260. I'm going to crop. Let's increase this to 260. Hold shift and then increase the height of this. Close that. This one is going to occupy 8 columns, so it's going to be 713. And height is going to be 260. So I'm just going to double click, crop, and reduce this one to 260. And let's align this as best as we can here. And for the final image, which is this one, width is going to be 347 and the height is going to be 540. So double click, crop, and let's increase the height to 540. I'm going to just increase the height of this like that, and let's close this. Select this image, cut, and replace it here. This one, cut, Ctrl Shift R to replace. This one, cut, Ctrl Shift R. Finally, this one, Ctrl Shift R. Select all of this and let's align to top just to make sure. Select any of these images and this one, make the spacing 20, and select this image, group everything, select this two, and we're going to change the spacing to 20. Oops, That means I missed okay, one image is out of the group. Let me select all four, group it, and I'm going to change the spacing to 20 group. Okay, let's see. Okay, so let's just scroll down in the services page, and yeah, we have events and prints, and that's what it looks like in the prototype view. The next section, which is this what client says, just another copy of the one we did in the home page. I just added another one in that page, so I'll just go over to our home page, copy this entire section, and we'll go back to this page, and I'll just paste here and align it to the center. Let me get closer to just make it easier, like this. Final section, well, second to the last section is going to be this one. So I'm just going to go to my notes. So we already have this one. Ready to work together is this heading, and I'm just going to copy that. We can just paste it first, why not? Let's change the typography to subheading. Select this text, change it to the body text, and I'm going to copy this. Before I do that, let me separate this so I don't miss it. I'm going to paste this here. I'm just going to leave it like this. Finally, we have our call to action button. I'm just going to scroll up here, copy this, and I'm going to replace this here. This is book now. And I'm just going to select these three. I want to make this let's make it auto width, so that we'll have this. Select this tree, make them auto layout, make the gap 20. Let's go back to any of these pages, copy the footer section, Ctrl Shift R to paste and then replace less and tight. Okay, now let's go back to the top and space entire thing out. Before we even begin, I'm just going to, what do I feel like we may need more space? Let me just select the entire frame and just add a bit more space just in case. We can always reduce it. Okay, let's do this from here. Select this header section and this section, reduce the spacing to 80. Select these two sections, spacing is going to be 80. While they're both selected, we can just change the color to our white color. I'm going to select this section, zoom out, select all the sections including the footer section. In this, let's change the color. I'm just going to change this to white, and we're going to change the spacing to 150. Okay, now I'm just going to reduce this so that the spacing from the bottom of our frame and the bottom of the footer section is 100. And yeah, that's it. So we can go back to our prototype and let me see, and we can just scroll down and we can look at it with proper spacing. Yeah, that's it. We are done with the services page. The final section is going to be this contacts page. So I'm just going to select this contact. Instead of contact wireframe, just rename it to contact. Change the fill to black color or almost black color. Select this header section, and you can just delete that. Let's go here, copy this header section, and we're going to paste this. Let's come here, select this, change the font to desktop heading. I'm going to check that these two are aligned to this column, and I'm going to change this to body text like this. Let's open this. I'm going to copy this text and I'm going to paste it here. Let's extend this to this end. And I'm just going to come. Alright. Select this to make the spacing 25. Group. This line, I'm just going to reduce the width of this line so that it's aligned to the edge of the beginning of the second column and the end of the 11th column. So we're just going to have it here. The width is 896 and the color is currently white. Remember, we're using white. I'll just change the transparency to 70%. Let's work on this one. The text remains the same. I think this one is still Get in Touch. Change this to subheading. This we're going to change to body text, and I'm going to copy this text here, copy that, and I'm going to paste this. Let's select, let me make this auto width, and I'm going to select this too. Let me make sure they are aligned to the edge. They are. Make it an auto layout and gap 25. So now we're going to need a bit more space so we don't have things overlapping. I'm just going to move this. I'm going to copy this line, Ctrl Shift R to replace, and I'm just going to align it to the center and move it up. Let's move book a session up. I'm going to change this to subheading typography. Make sure it's aligned. Make sure this one is aligned to. Change the text to the body text. I'm going to zoom out. It seems like I'm going to need more space. Let me increase this. Let me select all of this, and I'll come to his book is session or request the quotes. I'm going to just paste that. Let's grab the remaining text, which is just this simple form layout. There's no real form, it's just text. I'm going to copy this and I'm just going to paste that like this. We're going to need a call to action button, so I'll just go to this one, anyone, or insert a button if you have one. I'm just going to paste here, and this is going to be send message. Select these three. I think this would do better if we is much better if we just increase it to the edge like this. Let's select these three, make it an auto layout, gap 25. let's come to this. I'm just going to copy the properties of that line and I'm going to paste it here. I'm going to just reduce the width of this, take it up. This is frequently asked questions. Just make sure it's aligned. Change the typography to typography. Make it our subheading typography. We're just going to use a single text box. So I'm just going to delete this tree. Change this typography to our body text. Let's copy the text for the frequently asked questions section and I'm going to paste that. I'm just going to come here and let's make this a bullet point. Same with this one. You can use icons if you want, but I'm just going to keep this as white spacing here. Finally, we have this one and this. Okay, select these two. Just make sure it's, let me make sure it's aligned before. Okay, spacing is going to be 25. Make it an auto layout. In these extra sections, we don't need this. And I'm going to go back to this page, select the footer section and copy it. Let's go back to our contacts page, Ctrl Shift R to paste and then replace, and I'm going to move it to the center. Now let's space it out properly. Let's start from, of course, the header and then select this contact, make this 80 and select this contact, the lines and all these other sections. Let's, okay, with the exception of this footer section, make their spacing 50. And now you can come to the selection colors, just the one that is this one that is 70 is the line. You can save it as a style, but or a variable. I'm just going to leave it like that. So I'm just going to change this ones to a white color. Select these two, make it 100, and we're going to select this one and I'm going to reduce the height of our frame and I'm going for 100 from the bottom, so we need to increase it by 5 like this, and let's zoom out, and yeah, that's it. Our contacts page is very simple and straightforward. Let's look at it. So this is our contacts page and we are done with this. Let's go back to our design tab, and with this we've come to the end of this section of our project. So for part 1 we worked on the wireframe, the mood board and then the desktop web pages. In part 2 we're going to work on the tablet web pages, the mobile web pages, and we're going to do prototyping for the entire device types. Then in the final part, which is part 3, we're going to animate this hero section. We're going to have 3 different animation for this particular hero section. So in the future I'll add the links to all parts in this video. So if you're watching this video in the future, the parts are probably already, links to the parts of the videos are already in the description. If not, that means I haven't posted them yet. But anyway, with that said, We have come to the end of part 1 of our video. If you liked it, please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in part 2.